Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. Hello there. Welcome to Extreme Recap. In the wake of being hit by the greatest wave ever, a family is totally isolated. Every one of them should battle to get by while attempting to end up among the in excess of 100,000 survivors. We'll talk about the movie's plot today. The inconceivable. Maria Alvarez makes the decision to spend Christmas in Thailand with her husband and their 3 children while on vacation. They will be staying at a very opulent beachfront resort. Following the celebrations on December 26th. The entire family goes to the retreat's pool, partaking toward the beginning of the day's sun and having some good times together until out of nowhere the power is removed and an exceptionally impressive storm begins to blow everything away, including a page from Maria's book. The ground begins to shake as she gets up to pick it up. As the birds, fleeing the sea with these negative signs, fly toward the mainland. Everybody focuses not too far off as the palm trees at the edge of the oceanside break down, revealing a massive tsunami one by one, sweeping through everything in its path as it moved toward them. Frantic, Maria shouts for her significant other, Henry, to squeeze as hard as he can her children while Lucas, the oldest, has opportunity and willpower to hop in the pool, squashed against a sheet of glass. The lady simply watches the wave divert her family until she, as well, is hit, blacking out in a split second. In the wake of being hauled for many meters, the Alvarez family's patriarch finally wakes up and clings to the trunk of a palm tree to keep from being swept away by the water. But Maria doesn't think twice when she sees Lucas being dragged away and decides to let go of the tree and swim against the current to save her son. Despite her best efforts, the woman is unable to steer and is tossed around like a rag doll, almost having some submerged branches pierce her heart. Indeed, even with the horrifying aggravation, Maria doesn't surrender and keeps swimming towards Lucas. Despite the fact that they are so close to one another that they cannot touch and are once more separated, she was able to hold on to a mattress with him. At the point when the bedding hits a post, thumping them back into the water. When Maria comes to, she goes back to looking for her son when she sees a second wave coming their way. The woman is so shaken that she barely has time to ask Lucas to dive in. The kid at last figures out how to cling to a post and begins to search for his. Finding her body drifting close to some palm leaves, thinking his mom has lost her life. As he screams as loud as he can, Lucas starts to cry. However, Maria is still alive and hears her son's voice when she wakes up. She swims as quickly as she can to meet him, cuddling her first child, and does everything she can to calm him down. She helps him hold on to a tree trunk, where they will remain until the water level drops. A couple of hours after the fact, they at long last figured out how to walk and choose to start their excursion to the closest town. Yet, now that they are all the way out of the water. When they arrive in town, Lucas notices a huge tree in the middle and decides it would be a good idea to take shelter at the top in case they are hit by another tsunami. He also notices that his mother has a huge wound on her leg and a chest that is almost gone. However, Maria is no longer strong due to the enormous loss of blood. The woman thinks she is ready to try climbing after improvising a tourniquet, so she starts walking toward the. Yet, stops when she hears a kid crying in the trash and chooses to go there to help him. Lucas says that they should get to the tree as soon as possible because they will all die if they are hit by another wave. Yet, Maria places herself in the spot of the kid's mom and contends that it very well may be one of her youngsters. In that particular situation, Lucas acknowledges his mom's choice, and together they go to protect the kid, finding him essentially covered in the leaves after they get the plants off him. Daniel is helped up by Lucas, who introduces himself to him and carries him on his back until they reach the tree's base, where they find a small soda can, after concealing the beverage in his pocket. The more established kid helps Daniel up the tree and moves down to help his mom. As she ascends the trunk with everyone on top, he carries Maria's entire weight on his back. Lucas likewise goes up and partitions the soft drink similarly, among the 3 being the main wellspring of calorie they polish off over the course of the day. Close to sunset, the water level drops a great deal and the ground starts to be noticeable, making it feasible for certain workers to go into town, to safeguard survivors. Lucas begins to scream for help when he sees the men approaching from the top of the tree. Bringing the villagers' attention, he begins to drag his mother along the ground, aggravated her injuries even more. Nevertheless, the locals attempt to assist and begin cleaning Maria, attempting to hydrate her and keep her warm. The villagers use an old door as a stretcher to transport the woman to a pickup truck after administering first aid, allowing them to transport the mother and son to the closest hospital. Be that as it may, abandoning Daniel at the center, the medical caretakers attempt to banish Maria from entering. Additionally, while accompanying his mother, the people are compelled to force her inside. Lucas stops to watch the news and realizes how serious the situation is when he sees people all over with severe injuries. The boy wanders around the hospital and comes across Mary in the medicine warehouse. She was complaining a lot about the cold, which indicated that she had already been affected by the bleeding and that a wound was growing. Lucas begins looking for an antibiotic that might help her because he is concerned about her. Be that as it may, since every one of the marks are in Thai, he has no clue about which medication is the right one. This very moment, Maria is given a local anesthetic and her wounds are cleaned as soon as the doctor enters the room. Mother and son leave first aid for the waiting room, where the woman seems concerned about her leg's color and worried that she might lose it. Maria tries to make friends with a woman on the stretcher next to her and asks Lucas to give her a tangerine after confirming that everything is fine. Yet, the smell of the natural product causes some sort of impact on the one who starts to wildly hack, putting out all that she has eaten to keep her from stifling. The boy completely breaks down when Maria asks him to turn the woman's neck, so he just watches as the nurse helps the patient. As of now, Lucas's mom likewise begins to feel sick and tosses out all that she gulped during the wave upchuck, nearly making her own child faint. Maria asks Lucas to assist them in locating their relatives when things have calmed down and she realizes that numerous people are looking for their relatives. Promising to wait for his return before moving forward, the kid meanders through the hallways of the emergency clinic until he meets a Swedish man who is searching for his child in the entryway, even without understanding what he says. Lucas acknowledges the mission to track down the kid and starts to look through every one of the hallways. However, all he finds are additional relatives seeking individuals. With such a lot of interest, the kid gathers a rundown with every one of the names going through the whole facility until he at long last finds the child of the Swedish man in the more youthful ward, glad to find somebody at long last. In order to find his father, Lucas asks the boy to wait on the stretcher while he goes to the lobby. The Alvarez firstborn sees them reunite and quickly runs to his mother to tell her the news. Yet, when he shows up at the spot, he understands that she has been removed. Frantic, the kid asks the patient close to him about the lady's whereabouts. Yet, since nobody knows the response, Lucas begins to scream in agony, preventing the nurses from moving a second gurney where she was observing the confusion. Lucas is approached by a social worker who asks him to accompany her to one of the. After spending some time going through the paperwork, they try to find out what happened to Maria, but the woman comes back and starts filling out Lucas's file. She asks him a few personal questions and gives him a tag that says he is a lost child at the resort. Henry looks around the area for his wife and son's whereabouts. Be that as it may, the main thing he can find is Lucas's old ball. Distressed, the man scans every last bit of the lodging until the end of his loved ones. But because he can't find anything else, he goes back to his room, where Simon, his youngest son, and Tomas, his other son, are waiting for him. He is determined to find the other people. Henry asks Tomas to look after his younger brother while he continues his search for Maria and Lucas. He tells Tomas that trucks are taking the survivors to the mountains. The man returns to his search shortly after leaving his children in the care of another survivor and taking them to the transport truck following the conversation. But he slips in the mud and falls headfirst to the ground, injuring himself even more and leaving him totally confused. After that, Henry begins to wander aimlessly until a group of survivors locate him. In the wake of recapturing awareness, when the man is reunited with the other people, they begin to inquire about his activities prior to the tsunami. After hearing Henry's story, different survivors are contacted and choose to loan him their telephone to converse with the remainder of his family in Spain with the gadget close by. The man calls Maria father and figures out that Lucas and his significant other have not yet attempted to reach him in tears. Henry declares that he has no idea even if his wife and son are still alive, but he makes a promise to search every hospital and shelter in Thailand until he locates them, promising to give news when he reunites his family the following morning. Lucas is called by the social specialist who affirms the kid's last name and shows him a watch, a ring and a stud to check whether he remembers them. It turns out that one of the nurses mistakenly took Maria's gurney after Lucas left and registered her as Muriel, taking her to the working room rather than another patient. Understanding the mix-up, the social laborer apologizes to mother and child and uncovers that Maria has gone through a medical procedure on her cheek. Be that as it may, since her body is incredibly powerless, the specialists have chosen to stand by some time prior to attempting to remake her leg. With the assistance of the survivors, Henry continues his search for his wife and son a few miles away, but they are unable to locate them in any of the hospitals, so they decide to look elsewhere. In the last facility nearby while actually looking at the guide. When the Alvarez family's father sees the woman with whom he left his children, he decides to confront her and inquire about Simon and Tomas's whereabouts. Nonetheless, the main thing the lady knows is that the public authority is taking every one of the excavators to place them in covers at the clinic. Lucas is with his mother when he notices Daniel playing with his father in one of the next beds, causing the boy to be incredibly content that he rescued him back there. The kid returns to Maria and attempts to tell her that Daniel is fine. However, Lucas is so worried about the woman's weakness and confusion that he decides to personally approach the doctors to request that her surgery be delayed. Outside the medical clinic, Henry shows up with the gathering of survivors and requests that the driver stand by while he attempts to track down his loved ones. Henry talks to the staff and learns that they have not been taking any new patients since the previous day, giving him 5 minutes to search. However, this does not deter the man from continuing to search the ICU bulletin board for the names of his wife and son. Lucas decides to go outside to get a drink after Maria tells him she's thirsty. He stops at the drinking fountain right next to his father, who just went down the stairs. However, the filter is ineffective. Henry walks through the ICU corridors and comes within a few feet of his wife, but her bed is covered in curtains, so they cannot see each other upstairs. He also continues to look for a water source. After seeing his father downstairs while waiting in line for water, Lucas drops everything to run after him. However, Henry is too far away, and as he gets further and further away from his family, he is unable to hear his son's screams. In that instant, Simon leaps out of the truck in the bushes to relieve himself before the truck that will transport the younger children to the shelter pulls up in front of the hospital, to hurry Thomas up with his brothers and force him to run after him. Lucas descends the ramp and begins looking for Henry among the tents just a few meters away, not understanding that he has proactively abandoned tracking down them and has returned to his truck with everybody ready. The driver attempts to begin the vehicle and understands that the motor has stalled, requesting that the passengers get off while he repairs the vehicle. In the wake of alleviating themselves, Thomas and Simon begin to run back to the truck, when they hear Lucas's frantic screams as he rushes at him. The three siblings embrace each other in the group and start to cry cheerfully for the gathering from a remote place. Henry hears the young men's cries and starts to approach. At long last, meeting his children again after this entire bad dream, after they are undeniably rejoined, Lucas lets them know that his mom is in the ICU and leads the others to the room. However, Maria is in such a weak state that she is unable to even express her joy at seeing her family once more. She also does not know whether she is alive or unhappy. The woman acknowledges that she will be leaving the living world and states that she can now depart peacefully. However, Henry does everything in his power to cheer her up, bringing his wife down so that the doctors can take her back to the operating room. Afraid, the boys bid their mother farewell and led her down the hallway, watching as the team of nurses carries her while she waits for her turn. Maria meets the patient who had been sick, and the lady chooses to represent the initial time, telling her that she likewise has a family and that she has been quiet this opportunity to save energy for when she meets her significant other and little girl once more. Be that as it may, since she couldn't say whether she will endure the medical procedure, Maria reaches out her arm and tries to grab the woman's hand, moved by the woman's suffering, but the doctors take the woman at the last minute, preventing them from touching. She decides to talk to someone one last time. At the point when it is her move, Maria will not get the sedation inspired by a paranoid fear of nodding off and at absolutely no point ever awakening in the future, compelling the specialist to attempt to comfort her, educating the young lady to figure regarding something positive, to have great dreams. But as soon as she loses consciousness, The lady recalls the wave and starts to dream of flashbacks of what occurred while she was submerged, reliving each of her wounds and the bodies she saw underwater. However, despite this nightmare, the surgery is successful, and they can now finally fly home. Henry is greeted by an insurance company representative who has rented a plane to take them to the General Hospital in Singapore, where Maria will remain until she is completely cured. Maria is overjoyed to learn that the boy they saved has also been able to return to his family when Lucas goes to his mother's stretcher and informs her that he found Daniel in the hospital. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.